The Isaiah Factor Uncensored starts right now.
And welcome to The Factor Uncensored. The conversation, often the argument, of critical race theory has swept the country in recent months. It sparked serious conversations about how, when, and where to teach about our country's racist past. Now, tonight we're digging down to the roots of each side and why it's so hotly debated.
And our guests are here to talk about critical race theory and how it's become a hot button issue all across the country. Dr. Jean Preuss, UHD, let's start with you. For those who are not quite clear what this is, describe it for us, explain it for us.
Well, I'm going to come at it from a historian's perspective. A critical race theory is essentially just history. It's the history of structure, and it's the history of organizations. And so what it's doing at its essence is saying that we have a history of racism in the United States, and all historians would agree with that. And what critical race theory does is that in organizations, that racism has filtered down and permeated society. That's a nutshell version.
Now, John Griffin, as a conservative, why is it I guess, concerted effort around the country for conservatives to try and get rid of this course wherever they may find it, be it on college campuses or in high schools?
Well, number one, Isaiah, thanks for having me on. It's been a while. I've got to say, I think there's a heightened kind of reticence with conservatives in general. I'm an independent, towards the idea of labels and things that seem like they've got some sort of hidden agenda behind them, and that's not always the case. Sometimes there's an accidental agenda. Sometimes there's no agenda, but the cross-cutting cleavages of interpreting history as happens when people interpret history. There's going to be some subjective differences. I think that's where most of the anxiety stems from here. That being said, I do think there is a knee-jerk reaction on the left to want to disregard all the progress that's been made on race in the last 100 years. And to me, that's just something we shouldn't do. We should take stock at how far we've come, and we should be okay acknowledging that. It doesn't mean that there's not a problem or that there aren't problems, but saying that there's no progress and that there's only problems, that's a problem for me.
State Representative Ron Reynolds, your thoughts on that?
Well, I think John is right on one aspect that we need to acknowledge the progress, but the problem that he doesn't address is that my conservative colleagues want to whitewash the foundation and the crux of the problem. They want to not discuss aspects of them teach the history in terms of slavery, the 3/5 compromise, the fact that we have a long history. We have a long history in this country of discrimination, and we have evolved, but they don't want to have teachers make white kids feel guilty because of the founding fathers. And when they originally wrote the Constitution that we're proud of, it didn't include rights of blacks. Blacks were deemed as property. And so they want to whitewash history, and they don't want to be able to teach history in its accurate form. They want to change it. And so we're simply saying is we need to teach history so that we can appreciate where we've come from, appreciate the fact that there is systemic racism in this country, and is built on a long foundation of racism and discrimination that dates back to slavery.
Dr. Preuss, let's bring you back into this conversation. There was a bill here in Texas that the governor signed. What would that bill do in regards to critical race theory in schools, even though the bill never says critical race theory?
Well, so let me start by, I didn't really answer your question to begin with, and so this will dovetail into this question. What has happened is 26 states across the United States to date have introduced or passed legislation against critical race theory. And it's kind of a knee-jerk reaction, to borrow Mr. Griffin's term, against the 1619 Project. And this was a project that New York Times and a journalist came up with to kind of look at American history through the terms of slavery. And slavery and racial problems play a big role in American history. We can't get away from that. But there's a lot of historians, and on the left as well, who have problems with the 1619 Project, as if slavery were the only defining issue. And so there are, there's on the left and on the right, there are people who have problems with this interpretation. I've got to say, history is interpretation. It's taking these facts and it's how we put them together, how we assemble them, and how we learn from them, the lessons we take from them. That's all interpretation. And so you're right. When people have different interpretations, there's going to be problems. What this bill does, essentially, it's kind of a hodgepodge. And it seems to say, look, we're not going to blame people for racial problems. At the same time, it says that we're not going to blame people for problems related to gender and to a lot of other issues. Now, some of these, if you read the bill, some of these sound pretty good on paper, right? We're not going to blame, we're not going to say that any one sex or any one gender or any one race is better than another. Who can argue with that? But if we look at the intent behind the bill, it seeks to stifle the way teachers teach. And I think this is a big problem. It adds more requirements to the already bulging state curriculum for social studies. It has a lot of things that, we're going to teach American patriotism. I'm all for that, but that's already in the curriculum. It seems to be, in many respects, that the bill was a solution looking for a problem.